Hello, 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 and welcome to My Empty Hands, the podcast about the martial arts with a focus on Kempo. I am Reggie Darden, and today I have with me a great guest here, Joanne Fasano, and yeah, we're going to talk some Kempo and just kind of get right into it. So I typically start things off with just giving my background. I started Kempo in the early to mid '90s after seeing The Perfect Weapon, a little Kempo movie that I'm sure nobody listening has seen, but yeah, I saw The Perfect Weapon, instantly fell in love with Kempo, and started training. I made it to my green belt before I left for the army, and while I was in the army, I got to do some taekwondo and some hapkido and some boxing, and enjoyed that. After I left the military, I then got involved in capoeira, and I've been training and teaching capoeira for quite a few years. So I'm enjoying that. And I got back into the Kempo world about 2 or 3 years ago, training in a American Kempo, Ed Parker American Kempo style. Originally, I was in a Chinese Kempo school, essentially the Tracy's Kempo curriculum, and so that's kind of the brief rundown of my history, and we'll kind of get into more as we talk. Something that is new to my journey is the teaching aspect. I've recently entered the instructors program at my school, so teaching Kempo is a new thing for me, and so I'm always interested to hear more about people that have done that. So we may get into that on this show. So yes, and now I will turn it over to my lovely guest here, and yeah, just tell us how you got started, how Kempo found you, and we'll follow your journey from there.
Great. Thanks, Reggie, for having me on. Um, so, I had always thought at some point of trying karate, but life got in the way. I had two boys, worked full time, um, just was always kind of in the back of my mind, but never. What happened is when I turned 50, I my kids were more grown up, and I had um, started thinking about karate again and maybe trying it because I'm the kind of person that I really don't like just going to the gym and working out. I need I like dancing or doing something where I'm kind of multitasking and keeping my interest. I just hate sitting on a treadmill or doing something where um, so I just was finding that I needed something more. And so I started thinking about karate again, and I started looking into it a little bit and was getting a little overwhelmed at how many different types of karates there were, and I wasn't really sure where to go. And it just so happened that at work I was in a meeting with a bunch of people that I didn't know that well. I knew them, but not well. And we had to go around the room and say something about ourselves that everyone else in the room might not know about them. And this woman who I knew a little bit, but not really well at all, just a coworker, she said that her thing that people might not know about her was that she was a black belt in Kempo karate. And so I took that as a signal and went and talked to her after the meeting. And she proceeded to tell me all about Kempo, and she sent me a link. Um, this was over 10 years ago. So she sent me a link to the class to the Kempo schools in the area that were, she said make sure it's a certified whatever class, and I said okay. I looked at the list and there happened to be one 10 minutes from my house in my town. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go try this and see if I like it or not. And so I just called um, and went to the free class to try it out. Said, okay, seems pretty cool. I'm just going to keep going. And I signed up. I went, maybe was going like once or twice a week to start. Wasn't really sure if I was going to love it or not. And it was okay at first. I was like one of the few adults in the class. It was mostly teenage boys to starting with that were in my class. And I would just go do my thing, go home, and didn't really hadn't really made any friends, wasn't really sure if I was gonna continue, but thankfully, I just kept going. I just said, nope, I want to, I like the fact that you have a belt to motivate you to try to say a goal to set to say, well, I want to get at least my yellow belt. So I would keep going and keep going. And so I just kept going and I kept liking it more. And then eventually more adults did join. I did make friends. And, I'll keep talking more about my journey as you ask questions. But the more I do it, the more I'm loving it more and more and more. So that's how I started out. It really was just, I took that as a sign, and I just went with this school, and I've been there for 10 years now.
Very nice, very nice. I like that. Of course, I like that you stuck with it, especially considering that starting off, there wasn't, it doesn't sound like there was that instant instant
Right.
love for the art or for the training. I mean, for me, I've always been into the martial arts movies and always wanted to be a part of the martial arts world. So as soon as I got to the school, luckily the first school that I was at was a great school and
Yeah.
great people right off from the start. But because I had so much of a passion for it, I think I could have went to the Cobra Kai school and still would have been fine with training. So it says a lot about that. You had that inner fire to continue training, even though kind of the start wasn't you know exactly the big bang, the big.
Well, I had a great teacher. So Sean Crehan is my teacher. And I think the fact that he was so good at easing me into it, because if it had been somebody maybe a little too Cobra Kai-ish, maybe I would have been scared away. Uh, You know, he kept me interested enough that I just, it was my escape, and kind of has become my therapy, because when I go to class, that's why I really like it, is when I'm there, I have to focus 100% on what he's showing us. And so you forget everything, you're moving, and by the time you leave that class, no matter how you felt coming in, you feel a million times better leaving.
Now, did you feel kind of intimidated as far as being a little more seasoned on the planet than some of the people that you were training with? Was there this intimidation or this kind of fear of like, oh well, they're not going to maybe treat me as equal, or they're gonna kind of take it too easy, or actually maybe kind of along the lines of that. Did you maybe want them to kind of take it easy on you, or were you kind of just ready to just, hey, I'm here, let's just get into it as much as possible? Like, kind of what were those early kind of thoughts and feelings about training?
I think the fact that they did take it easy on me, and I don't think it was. I think it was just because I was with a lot of teenage kids and stuff that it was more focused on just the basics and learning the techniques and learning the basics. And we didn't spar. I didn't spar until maybe start sparring until like a year ago. I wasn't competing, so I wasn't intimidated by it. To me, it was like learning how to dance, which I did dance lessons when I was young. I That's how I explain it to people. They're like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, aren't you going to get hurt? Aren't you worried? And I'm like, no, I said, to me, it's like learning how to dance. You're learning these steps that you have to do in a very specific way um, to get a certain result. And it's done in a way that yes, you could get hurt. And I've only gotten hurt twice. And both times it was a bruised rib. Which at the first time I had a bruised rib, I had no idea that it was a bruised rib. I went to the doctors, they checked me out because someone had just actually, we were just doing a routine and someone just accidentally punched me in the right spot where it hit a piece of my rib. And boy, does that hurt. um, but once I realized it wasn't broken or anything, it's just bruised. It took a couple of weeks to heal. Um, then when it happened the second time, I wasn't, I knew what it was. I didn't even go to the doctor. I just said, oh, I bruised my rib again. And I was a little nervous about the fact that had a bruised rib twice because it does kind of suck the energy out of you and it takes you down for a couple of weeks of you're not quite yourself while you're healing. And I was a little paranoid for a while, and I asked a bunch of my teacher and some women about like, what do you guys do to protect your ribs? And I'm worried. I bought a plastic thing that you could wear to protect, and I did wear it for maybe 2 months. Um, but it was so hard, and it was awkward when you're trying to maneuver and do techniques with people, and I felt like it was not really helping. And uh, Denise Plowman, who was one of the teachers who had helped was helping me, or I had been talking to, had said, well, she doesn't wear anything. She said, you just got to make sure you're protecting your ribs. Like, just learn to keep your hands protecting your ribs. And so I just finally stopped wearing it and stopped worrying about it and haven't gotten hurt since. So, and
Well, you are
yeah,
definitely much tougher than me. I luckily, knock on wood, I haven't had any serious injuries in all my years of training so far. The day is young, so we'll see. But uh, yeah, no, I'm a big baby when I get injured. So
right. And I think people, when they see you, like when people see, or you, like I showed some people some videos from my second degree brown belt test, and they were just like, oh my God. And I'm like, I mean, I did get hurt a little bit in one of the tests, but that was just a big bruise on my leg. But um, people don't understand because they don't do it to know that you're really not you're more likely to get hurt. I have more friends getting hurt playing pickleball than I've gotten hurt playing doing karate. So,
gotcha, yeah. So were there any things that when you started training that in your time training you kind of realized or maybe different than you thought they were going to be as far as what it was like training, kind of going back to, because this wasn't kind of a thing that you kind of knew from birth that you're going to be doing. Was there maybe like any kind of misconceptions or you know just I kind of think that, oh well, maybe a lot of people go into the studio and think, oh, it's going to be, I'm going to be washing cars like Mr.
Right.
Miyagi, or or I'm going to be, yelling, having some crazy person yelling at me like in a Cobra Kai.
Right.
So, yeah, were there any kind of things that maybe you were surprised, like, oh, like this part, or this karate thing is not quite like I thought it was, or kind of anything like that?
Um, I mean, I didn't really know what to expect. Yes, I've seen a lot of karate movies, and um, obviously, like the Karate Kid movie. I knew it wasn't realistic, but of course, I really didn't know what to expect. So um, I think it was. Um, I don't know. I think it's just frustrating now when I watch those movies because they're so unrealistic. um, they don't portray what you really have to go through to learn on TV or in the movies. They make it sound like you're just suddenly gonna, you know, be able to do things within months, and it just takes a long, long, long time. It's very slow, methodical, and every time you think you know something, you realize how little you don't know about it. That's what I think is the coolest thing is I love learning and continuous improvement. And at first I think my biggest challenge was I was so worried about memorizing the techniques and the forms and sets because I don't have a good memory. So that was the other reason I wanted to do karate was because I felt like it's you're not only just getting the physical exercise, but you're getting the mental exercise every time you do it, and you have to practice and you have to. And so the whole having to memorize so much stuff, and then you think you know it, and then you take another class, or I take a lot of seminars with other teachers that go and delve into other things, and then you realize, oh my God, I really don't know. I just like touching the surface on this stuff. So you realize how far you still have to go, but it's the journey has become very fun. So the continuous learning is just getting funner. It's getting more fun the more I learn, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Oh yeah. No, I can totally relate, and I have a laugh with my classmates because at the school that I started, well, at my current school, I'll be talking to some of the newer people, and they're like, oh, gotta learn all these techniques and all these forms and all this terminology and all these
Yeah.
different things, and it's so much. And at the school that I'm at, we are on the 16 technique curriculum, and 16 techniques per belt curriculum. And at the school that I started at, we had 40 techniques each belt. And so, yeah, I tell my cohorts, like, you know 16 isn't so bad. When you had to do 40, when I had to
Right.
do 40
Yeah.
back in the
Yeah.
day. So yeah, I think it's doable. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, we always have a little laugh about
Yeah.
that. So were you have you gotten into the competing side of it?
I have not. My school, we don't compete. I didn't even realize, like, when I started, I didn't really know anything about the karate world, so I didn't even realize until years after I started, and started going to more seminars and talking to more people and really getting into it more that people like all these different international, well, not just international, but all these other schools that do competitions. And I'm just starting to learn about all that stuff, and I have not uh, competed at all. And I don't know if I will or not. I haven't even thought about it. I don't. um, I probably should at some point, but I haven't yet, and I haven't talked to my teacher about, if or when I should, because Not that I couldn't, I feel like I probably could, but I'm also 60, so I just get nervous about the age and getting hurt thing.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, no, I only had a handful of tournaments that I actually competed in, and in that it was just in sparring, and this was back when I was a much younger
Yeah.
person. I didn't do forms or weapons or any of those other things. I've toyed with the idea of at least doing forms, competing in
Yeah.
forms now, just mainly just to kind of say that
Yeah.
I've done it. I of course spectated at a lot of uh, tournaments to support my team, but yeah, I feel like it's you definitely shouldn't be forced to compete, and there are a lot of schools out there that are kind of like we mentioned the
Yeah.
Cobra Kai, the John Kreese and whatnot, forcing you to do stuff. But I think it's something to at least try it, and you do it, and it's like, this isn't for me. Then that's
Right.
fine. You can
Yeah.
kind of say, but that's just kind of my thought on it. Tournament stuff though, really, I think overall isn't really for me anymore. But we'll see. We'll see. got a lot of things on my
Yeah.
plate, so we'll see how that goes. So curious. So now that you've been training and caught the bug at all, have you uh, dabbled in any other arts besides kempo, or it's just all
All
kempo all the
Kempo all the
time?
time. I know I've gone to some seminars where they've brought in other teachers. So I did a little bit of jujitsu and I don't know what else I've done, but it's really I've thought about it. I have another student in my school. He just started I believe I forget exactly, but he started a second training and I'm like I mean like I just feel like I still am not where I want to be with Kempo, so I feel like I just might get too overwhelmed starting a second one at this point. But at some point, I think I would consider it.
So being kind of we're kind of in the similar boat as far as uh, uh, starting kempo. Well, for me, rejoining kempo, but starting kempo a little bit later in our
Mhm.
years. What would you kind of say has been kind of the hardest parts about that, or maybe kind of things that you've kind of struggled with that I don't know, maybe you wouldn't have had you started sooner, or kind of any kind of thoughts about that.
Um, well, I mean, now that I've actually started it, my biggest regret is that I didn't start it sooner. Just so I have more time. Um, but um, as far as any other challenges, um, no, I just think it would have been good if I could have done it earlier in life, and so now I just feel like I just try to focus on myself and not compare to other people, and just at least just keep going forward, you know, and don't worry too
Yeah,
much about it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
supposed it's fun. I like it. I'm meeting a lot of great people. I'm I'm starting to travel more to like before I would we've had teachers come to our school for seminars. I always go to them. I think I've only missed one ever in 10 years where I couldn't attend. And then I started going to all the
oh,
local
excellent.
schools that had seminars in Massachusetts. And then this past year, I actually went out to Washington, the state of Washington, to a weekend camp one. And so now I'm learning because I'm on the International Women of Kempo Facebook group and now become a board member. I'm learning more about like all the schools around the world, and um, now I'm looking at next year, like potentially going to the international um, seminar that's going to be happening in May in Ireland. Um, because I've always wanted to
Oh,
go
very
to
nice.
Ireland, so I'm like, well, why not go, make it a vacation, and then stay for a couple of days for Kempo training. So my husband's learned to, that I'm starting to plan some of our vacations around my Kempo.
Very nice, very nice. I definitely want to try and get across the pond one of
Yeah,
these days. I've been out of the United States for military stuff and a little bit of vacationing, but yeah, I've never got to cross the ocean yet.
yeah,
So that's still on my to do list.
highly
So
recommend it. I've
hopefully
only been to
can make that happen.
Germany and Italy so far, and so I want to get back over
Yeah,
there.
very nice, very nice,
It's great to travel.
very nice. So you mentioned your husband. Does your husband train also, or
Um,
this is a
It's a solo
solo
thing.
outfit
I
for you?
can't convince him. I've tried, but he took a little bit um of I forget what kind it was, but he took some karate when he was younger. His brother had become a black belt. He knows a little bit, so he will at least help me once in a while if I come home and I'm like, I need to run through this technique with somebody. That's one of my biggest challenges is when I come home, I try to practice on my own, but I like it, you need a person, and so sometimes I do ask him, like, you know, and he has to, you have to try to get him to um, slow down and be like, I'm just trying to remember the technique. So um, yeah, that's one of my challenges. Is I wish I had more time to just practice with somebody one on one. Um,
Hmm.
But I do go to class 4 times a week, and I do try to just go
Oh,
through
very
stuff on
nice.
my own. Um, I'm I don't know what kind of learner you call me, but I have to write everything out in addition to doing it. So
Oh,
I have a Google spreadsheet that I created that I have tabs for all my techniques with my notes. What kind of attack is it? I can sort it by belt color. I can sort it by attack type. With all my notes of so in case I forget how to do the technique, I can go back to my notes. All my forms and sets, my knife and gun defense notes, my sparring notes, and then my husband helped me create a randomizer. So when I'm trying to like study for a test or whatever, I can just randomly generate a technique that I can then try to remember to help me when I'm preparing for a test or something.
oh, that is fantastic. I like that. I That's definitely one of my failings is I'm really bad about writing stuff down and taking notes, and I know I should, and I know I keep saying I'm going
Yeah,
to,
because
and
it's so
it just
helpful when
doesn't quite happen.
sometimes you don't may not recognize your notes, but most of the time it helps me because if you're already up to over 100 techniques and all there's so much to memorize, and maybe you haven't looked at a yellow or orange technique in a while. At least I know I can go back and look at it, and if it doesn't immediately come back to me, I can just look at my quick notes and go, oh, okay, I remember it now. So I find it very helpful.
Gotcha. Very good. Very good. So, so you mentioned that you are a second brown
Yeah. Yep.
at this time. Have you got into the teaching side at all?
I have not. Um, Another thing that I assume at some point I will help my teacher. We just haven't had that discussion yet. I've I do start some of his classes for him when he's running late. I do some of the warm ups, but I actually haven't started teaching yet. So I know I should and I will eventually. I hope so.
Gotcha. Do you have any aspirations for teaching? Is it something that
Um,
you'd like to do,
I don't
or
mind teaching. I my goal, my goal is to get to black belt and then continue for as long as I'm physically able to. I consider it a life thing that I want to just stick with the rest of my life. Um, I've been teaching. I've been helping my teacher, Mr. Crehan, run all of his women's assault prevention classes, which I love, also, and so my goal. I definitely want to be able to teach women's assault prevention classes on my own eventually. Um, that's definitely something I really would love to do. Um, and I think it would be good to also teach classes at the school. Um, I think because it would help me to become a better student too. So, yes, I will. I do want to eventually start teaching. We just haven't had that discussion yet. But I definitely think it would help.
very nice, very nice. So, so since you are not yet a black belt, uh, I'm curious as to kind of your thoughts. So for me, now that I am, starting to get up there in the advanced levels, uh, there is, like many others, yes, I want to get to my black belt and get to that that spot so that I can start
Yeah.
learning the art. But I do have a little bit, and I enjoy the teaching, I enjoy the training, I enjoy all the different aspects. But I'm starting. I do have some feelings about now. It's like it's getting
Right.
serious now. It's now the students are looking to starting to look to me, and as I'm in the instructor program now, there's a little bit of pressure about being up there and getting closer to that black belt. And I'm curious if you have kind of similar feelings. It's like it's exciting to be so close, but yet also it's like I'm not sure if I'm really ready, or I really
Right.
want to do this.
Right.
So
Yeah, I do
yeah, can
feel
you
like,
maybe talk about your feelings
yeah, I
about that?
feel like at the beginning, like getting my yellow, orange, my other belts, I was nervous, but not. I do feel like the more you advance, the more pressure to really know what which to me, I mean, in a way, it's a good thing because it makes me want to practice more and go to class, and um, which is good. But yes, I do feel the more nervous about getting to black belt. When I up through my third brown, I had always just tested with my teacher at the school, and it wasn't until I had my second degree test that I had a board of like 10 people, including Mr. Sepulveda, our teacher, my teacher's teacher, and a lot of senior people. Some of them were on Zoom because they couldn't get there, and then a whole, the most I've ever had to test in front of, and it was only me and two other people, and so I was very nervous, um, but my teacher and some of the other teachers that helped did a great job preparing us for it. So we would have monthly like prep tests for the tests. So I got I was already like testing, like practice testing, which was very helpful. Um, and then once I did it, I actually the time I got hurt where I got this massive bruise on my leg, that was one of the practice tests. I actually didn't have any issues doing the actual test, getting hurt. But I felt like I did it and I was very proud of myself, but I also felt like, oh my God, this is just like this is how the tests are going to be now, and they're way more intense, and I really gotta step up my game. So yes, I am a little nervous, which is, but I don't have a deadline. Like I'm just gonna keep tr- training until till my teacher feels I'm ready. So I trust him to know if I'm ready or he thinks I'm ready or not. Um, because everybody, that's one thing I love about Kempo, or at least the school I'm in, is they treat everyone like an individual. I know other people who've already got their black belt and after the same number of years, but for me, I don't feel like I'm ready. I still have so much to learn, and but I trust Mr. Crehan to guide me the right way toward getting me there when I am ready.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I like it.
So that in him and all the teachers I've interacted with are just the most amazing people. And they're like, I just trust them so much, and I've learned so much from them. And so that definitely helps. And I didn't have any of that at the beginning. I didn't know any of these other women or that ran schools. I didn't know anything about the whole community of Kempo. Um, until years after I started. I was just focusing on learning techniques, trying to get the basics down. And now, the more I keep learning, the more I'm just in awe of these people. And I feel so privileged to be learning and going to these seminars with very advanced Kempo artists who are just amazing and great teachers. So I feel that I trust them. I trust them to help me, and that I'll be ready when I'm ready.
Very nice. I like it. I like it. All right. So, kind of the next thing, what are your thoughts about kind of the future of Kempo? Maybe where would you like to see it head? Where what kind of things maybe uh, you would maybe want to tell somebody that's maybe thinking about getting involved, and just kind of there's a lot of kind of fractured elements in Kempo as far as just drama and politics, which we of course will
Yeah.
not get into, but just kind of where would you like to see Kempo head in the future, or maybe are there things that you are seeing currently that maybe you'd like to change, or things that you think are going in the right direction, and just uh, you know what would be kind of your thoughts on just the future of Kempo.
Um, I guess just that more people are exposed to it and have the opportunity to learn something. As far as I don't know a lot about the politics. I know a little bit, but I just think it's such a great thing, especially for kids to learn. Um, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there about what it is, and I just think if it, I would love it to become more mainstream and and more people to be aware of how beneficial it is for anybody, and that you can start it at any age. It's great for kids, for confidence and lots of reasons, but you know, it's also but you can start it at any time. So I just think, um, more more people being aware of it and it being a little more mainstream would be great. Um, I don't, I think um, for uh, I think it's great that I think tying it into exercise because I think people are always looking for ways to keep their interest with exercise. So tying it into strength training and flexibility, it's so important, especially the older you get. So the more people realize that it can help you, that I just think it would be great for that too. So um, yeah, I don't really know where else it should go, or like I said, I'm still feel like a newbie so much that I can't really. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I, yeah, I'm right there with you. Some days I feel like I know it
yeah,
all, and most days I feel like I know
right.
nothing. So,
Yeah,
uh, very nice. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move into our lightning
okay.
round here, and got some questions here to bring us close to a close here. First one being, do you have a favorite technique?
So I had to go think about that one because you asked. I listened to Denise Plowman's interview, and I knew you had asked her that. Um, so mine, I mean, there's a lot I like, but what I came up with was twirling sacrifice. And the reason I like it is because I love the ending because I actually use it in the self-defense class. It was the first thing that came to mind. So I have a student teacher in my class, Andrew, who's a very big kid. I call him a kid because he's my son's age. He actually grew up my son. Um, but he's a big guy. He's over 6 feet, and he's so we were working on that technique, and I when I was practicing that technique, I just love the fact that even someone as big as Andrew, I was able to just so easily flip over my leg at the end. And like some people I would literally like they'd go flying because they weren't even that big. But I just thought it was a cool technique. So when I was teaching an assault prevention class with my teacher, they were like, "Oh, can you show us a technique?" And that was the first one that came to mind. And all the women just thought it was funny that I was able to just throw this guy. Um, so I like, so that's the one I came up with. But I like anything that has to do with like, uh, I'm fascinated with like joint locking and being able to manipulate somebody very easily with just, not so much taking them down and like whatever, but the fact that I can just easily do something to throw someone on the ground. Once you know those basics, I just think it's so cool.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, especially on the joint locking part.
Yeah, I just went to a seminar this weekend with Mr. Wedlake, who is an awesome teacher, and
Oh,
he did a
yes,
whole
yes, he is
thing
great.
on class on joint locking, and it was awesome.
Very nice. Yeah, my original teacher uh, got involved with small circle jujitsu, and just really amazing
Yeah,
stuff there. Finger locks
yeah,
and wrist locks, and you can just drag people
yeah,
all around the studio. As I mentioned to him when I had him on my show, we were going over the different locks and whatnot, and it's like that doesn't really look like it could do anything. But then I got to be the test dummy for that, and as it's well said in Kempo, to feel is to believe, and I
yeah.
definitely became a believer that day as far as the wrist locks and whatnot are concerned. All right, so the next one is, do you have a favorite form and or set?
Uh, that's it. That was a tough one too. I would say I was looking at them and I said, well, I guess stance set one is what I came up with. Um, just because the basics of it, and I guess because I've gotten a lot of good feedback on that one, and the fact it just so good. It's so helpful on your body alignment and keeping your head level, and getting all the basics in there. So I like them all, but
Yeah, no. So you're in good company. I spoke with Brittany Tatum the other day, and I believe she mentioned stance. I believe she said stance set two was her favorite. Sorry, listeners, I'm spoiling part of the episode, but yeah, she's very big on stances.
yeah.
So uh, it's nice that to hear the stance sets getting some love there. So very nice. All right. So then our final question: do you have, if there's anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, who would that be?
Um, I'm sure everyone says Mr. Parker, so obviously Mr. Parker.
Oh, yeah,
But
I forgot to add that part. Yeah, besides Ed Parker,
yeah,
yes,
um,
of course.
I, yeah, I don't know enough in the history, but like I just think the more people you put,
Can be someone you've already trained with if you want to give them a shout out.
oh my God, there's so many great um, people I've trained with. I've um, some of the women, Mrs. Doreen I can't say her last name. They call her Mrs. C. She's out of Revere, Mass. I've gone to her school. I've uh, Sandra D. She did a phenomenal woman self defense class that was really fun when I was out in Washington. Um, Miss Denise Plowman's sparring classes. Um, uh, God, Mr. Acosta's sparring. There's so like and Mr. Wedleg, my teacher, there's so many, Mr. Spolvita. I mean, I've already trained with so many great people, and I think I just want to keep training with different people because I feel like every single person you learn something new. Um, so just more exposure to all these great teachers that I've had some exposure with. I want more, and then I just want to keep meeting more people and learn more stuff.
Excellent, excellent. I like it. All right. Yeah. No. I thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and tell me about your story. And I'm just overjoyed to get to meet you, and as well as all the other various people that I've had on and will have on. So thank you for taking the time. Now is your chance for shameless self promotion, so you can promote anything that you want to, or just say anything that you like. You have the floor to put out there anything that you want, and then we'll close out for today.
I just want to thank you for the opportunity to share my story, and to hear your story, and be able to listen to other um, people's stories through your podcast, which I started to do. Um, and I just think it's a great art that I just want to more people to be aware of. And I'm going to be a grandmother in February, my first grandchild. Um,
Oh,
and
all right!
um,
Congratulations.
yeah, so I'm already thinking about, you know, I haven't even told my son this yet, but I'm like, your daughter will be going to karate class.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah, let's get those baby
that's
geese
right.
picked
Yeah.
out, and
So, yeah, I just think it's a great thing to learn, and I've just enjoyed the journey so far and looking forward to the rest of my journey. So, I thank you.
excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, yes. Thank you again. I can't wait to get this out for everyone else to hear. And yeah, just thank you so much for your time.
Great. Thank you. It was nice meeting you.
Thank you for listening to My Empty Hands. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. If you didn't enjoy it, please share it with an enemy. If you'd like to be a guest, or if you would like to recommend a guest for the show, please email me at podcast@talkingkempo.com. Thank you.